Roscoe, this piece is called Quarantine, and as we know here, we are all wearing masks in the gallery, but right now we're socially distanced, so we don't have to have our masks on as we talk. But to me, this piece really stood out. Having lived in apartments in the city, there's this idea that what's going on below you and above you in the neighboring unit, and a lot of people have been living at home during quarantine. So can you talk a little bit about this piece and how it came to you?
Yes, well, growing up in New York and then moving down here, I'm fascinated by apartment buildings because, like I said, upstairs, downstairs, beside you affects your life somewhat. If you have bad neighbors either way, you're up late night, kids running around, everything else. But also, I truly believe that we're all forgers. We like looking, and it's hard to drive down the road and not look at somebody's window. So during the quarantine, I just figure a lot of people are staring out the windows. Learning their neighbors. You know, we are so busy in life, we don't know our neighbors. I have 4, and I could not tell you where they work, what their names are, and everything else. So with this piece, related stories that would happen during quarantine. There is abuse going on, yelling, screaming, and actually there's a hidden piece in here that I'll go ahead and expose. You have David Duke stuck in this apartment somewhere, which was pretty funny to me to have him in basically a low-rent neighborhood. If you're not familiar with David Duke, please research him. I'm not going to go into that. But I do hide certain things in my artwork. I have a piece that has the Greensboro sitting at the counter and everything, and people have been commenting about that and everything. So what I try to do is give you an overall view of a scene, and if you spend time and start looking into it, you'll start seeing different stories being told in each window. Everything. And like I said, you got David Duke sitting there. Jazz musicians, everything else. So with the quarantine, I feel like people were trapped in their house. So either you had 2 options: find something to do, or you're going to go crazy. And I think both have happened. We have a high rate of alcoholism right now due to quarantine, high abuse. But what has dropped was the crime rate. You know, more people are at home, you're not getting broken into as much. Home improvements have improved. So I think people are finding solitude is good for them because reading is taking place. You're finding connections with your family more so, so that fast pace. I miss going out, but also I cherish the time that I'm finding with my kids and my wife now. I think they probably want me out of the house. I did spend 3 weeks quarantine due to my kids and everything, but I like staying busy, so I did find another job, and you know, I think this time in our life, we can't do too much about it. We're going to have to figure out how to live with it because it's not going to go away anytime soon, I don't think. I think we're still going to be having these masks, but I think it's a nice cleansing of our soul to find out what is important in our life. We don't have to go to Walmart 24/7. In fact, let's close it at 8 o'clock. I did like that. You know, when I was growing up, we gave the earth a rest. You know, on Saturday and Sunday it was family time. Now we go 7 days a week. Everything's open. You know, McDonald's open. Everything's open in the middle of the night. I'm like, just stay at home. You know, do these things. So I think with the quarantine, it has hopefully put a perspective in life that we don't have to do a lot of this shopping and spending and going, go hiking, you know, go fishing, go sit on a riverbank, go do something. You know, the solitude of life instead of the hustle and bustle. So I'm hoping we'll come out of this with a little appreciation of life instead of the material things that we're usually out hunting and gathering and everything. But I do miss going to my flea markets and everything else to get my art, my canvases. So that is my problem. But I do send friends out, and actually this canvas came from a friend. It was just a big piece. I think it might have had the Statue of Liberty on it. So I went into it and cut it out and reassembled it and everything else, the destruction, and putting it back together. So if you ever x-ray any of my artwork, you'll probably find some interesting things up underneath it.
Well, you know, after talking with you today too, I mean, obviously if you're an African-American male doing collage, the immediate name is Romare Bearden.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's a mantle that, you know, it's a plus and a minus at times. But after you talked about this piece, I started thinking about Roger Brown, who's a painter out of Chicago. And his work was, you know, this idea of looking in windows and seeing things going on in activities. And so, you know, I see that with Joseph's work, we're seeing the people involved in activities every day, goings on. And in your work, what I see is the places where the people are. So it's I mean, it's a wonderful compliment to the two of you complementing each other, because you know, I get that idea that we're looking in like a private view of these activities.
And with David's work, like I said, I'd like to offset that with what I'm doing. He's bringing the community in a close-up setting where I'm looking at it from far away distance. So it's a great show that you guys put together here with two artists of different perspectives, but still tackling the same thing. With my buildings and everything else, and like I said, wrote Mayor Bearden, a quick story about that. I used to finally confessed to my parents I laid out of school. And I said, what? I said, well, I would drive to Charlotte at Museum. Curated a lot of Mayor Bearden's work because he was born in Charlotte, and we still go and hang out at Bearden Park. So I do feel, in fact, that he moved from the south to the north, and I moved from the north to the south. But also the collage is based on access to materials. If you look at, I won't say a poor neighborhood, but a lot of black neighborhoods, you didn't have access to the paint and everything. You know, it wasn't stores in the neighborhood where you buy those, so you had magazines at the time, newspapers. So you did see a lot of artists doing collage, and it mainly from where they came up from. You know, if you had paint and your parents were artists and everything else, more than likely you're going to paint. But if you had a urge to do art and you didn't have those supplies, that urge is not going to stop. You just find materials that's going to help you, you know, create and get that out of there. Because to me, some days it's a curse. You know, can you quit looking at things? Can you quit thinking about things? And it's hard to, because I was telling somebody, you know, you drive down the road, and if I see 5 no trespassing signs in the window, my mind's thinking, okay, what happened that you needed 5 of them? You know, 1 usually does it. You know, but when you have 5 on the wall, so analyzing things and looking at how people live, where they live, and actually it tells you a lot about their life when you drive by. You know, and like I said, you can see in the windows, you might have flowers, and that kind of tells you who's going to be living there. Not to me, older dudes, I wouldn't be putting flowers in my window. So it kind of tells you the personality of who's living there, and give you insight, even if you don't see the people in the window or what's going on and everything. From the beer bottles, even a beer light in the window, it kind of tells you that's not a woman that lives in that apartment. That's going to be a guy. So investigating and analyzing people always was a gift to me. I just love sitting around and watching people and saying, okay, what are they getting ready to do? And my students hate it when I do that, because I'm like, whatever you're going to do, don't do it. And they're like, how you know? I'm like, I can tell by your body language, your eyes are shifting. And I'm like, I hate you. Okay. But I do enjoy doing the multiple windows, and I think my first show that I had with you guys, I think I had an apartment that had like 150 windows in it.
Wow.
I know it was a gallery in South Carolina, the Red Piano that I was dealing with, and they moved a lot of the apartment windows that I was producing up north. They sold them up there and everything. But for some reason, I like giving you a story within the picture.
Very good, very good.